Just us three for now. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. I am Zam, and I'm here with Rev Jake and Engelbert Humperdinck, also known as Bossman, also known as Gaddy. We are talking Moon Knight, Season 1, Episode 1. A problem, the Goldfish problem. First of all, before we continue, as I mentioned earlier, my co-hosts are with me as well, so let's just say hello to them. Hello, Rev Jake, how you doing?
Doing pretty good and excited to talk about Moon Knight.
Likewise. And Engie, how you doing?
I did all right. I can't get that fucking song in my head.
But, yeah. There was a few songs in this. Yeah, I thought to myself, am I watching a Scorsese or am I watching Disney? You know what I mean, with some of that music. But nevertheless, interesting first episode. So none of us are really, I'm not sure if any of us are familiar with Moon Knight prior to this. You are?
Yeah. I got familiar with him from a Marvel pinball game I had back on my PlayStation 3. And you just kind of, a little bit of the basic lore about Bushman and Khonshu and the multiple personalities. So I've kind of followed him on the sides. I'm not a comic reader, but I've kind of been following him on the sides and rooting for something to happen with him as Marvel got bigger. And so I've been all over, super excited for the Moon Knight show, and I've been diving deep into his lore to get ready for it. So it's been a good time.
This episode, this series, it had like an adult lock on it, so like I had to change my settings on my Disney Plus in order to watch it. In order to watch this, I had no idea, but I think I know why, because I was watching this first episode. The only thing I think Disney were concerned about was kids breaking glass and putting it in their shoes, because other than that, there really wasn't much else that I could think to myself, whoa, Disney would be upset with this or upset with that. But we've seen some of this shit in the MCU in various guises, especially in some of the Captain America films, when it comes to gunplay and stuff like that.
I think with the scene where he's got the blood all over his hand and the scarab when he just comes back after the one guy takes the scarab from him.
Yeah.
You get that flash out, and then also he's got that blood all over his hand. I think that scares me. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't move some of those Captain America, the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes into the adult-only category as well.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, they start, effing and jeffing, then maybe I'll start taking them a bit seriously regarding the adult category. But honestly, I've even with a little bit of blood here and there, it's still quite mild as far as I'm concerned. Now, listening to Oscar Isaac's English accent, because Daniel Vance said that he's based it off Carl Pilkington. I'm not sure if you know who he is by any chance. Carl Pilkington, Reverend Jake?
No, sorry, I don't.
Bossman, you know who he is, don't you?
Yeah. The thing is that I actually read that and I was like thinking, really, because Carl Pilkington isn't from London. He's actually from near where I live. It's like from it's like 20 minutes up the road. I could probably get there.
Yeah.
From where I live.
Yeah, so he's a northerner.
Yes, yeah.
But nevertheless, but it's not Cockney at all. I have to say, I'm kind of used to seeing Brits doing American roles, but you don't really often see Americans do British roles. And when the odd time you do, you get people like fucking Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
No. You get Don Cheadle in Fame in Ocean's 11. That's what you get.
Oh my god, yeah. Don Cheadle in Ocean's. Now, there have been some
I've got to say, this was the best American dude, a Cockney accent that I've heard.
The best one for me is
Denzel. I think Denzel's done it in a couple of films.
Really?
I've heard him do it, and he just
Now, for me, the best one I've heard is still James Masters from Buffy the series. I had no idea when I found out he was American. I was gobsmacked because his English accent, his Cockney accent, was so good. I also thought Sean Astin as Samwise Gamgee, his West Country accent, superb. But nevertheless, Oscar Isaacs is okay, I guess. It's kind of generic. It's here, there, and everywhere. I guess he's being a bit of a recluse So he sounds, he's a bit of a wimp, I guess. So this particular version of him. So I guess I can give it a pass, But let's just get on to. Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I have to wonder if part of that is the fact that it's this split off personality. So he's not, theoretically Mark Spector is the real personality, the original. Yeah. So anything he's doing is an impersonation, So if it's a bad impersonation, that actually kind of makes sense continuity wise, that he wouldn't know how to really do this accent very well, and something that he just made up on the spot when that personality was born. And
I guess.
I think it'll be interesting to see how they play out the birthing of his personality. But I kind of feel almost as if this Steven personality is kind of somewhere for him to hide, so that Mark Spector can do his Mark Spector stuff and then hide in this persona. So having it be this ultra geeky persona is kind of perfect, that it's this fake accent and all of that. And that kind of ties into some stuff I want when we talk about the phone calls later on. I think that there's a lot going on with Mark Spector leading Steven on. I can't never remember Steven's last name.
Bishop. Bishop, I think.
Is it? I'm not. Yeah. Again, I can't remember.
I can have a quick look while you're speaking.
Yeah, but I think that there's a lot going on here with him leading him on in some sort of a ruse, and I think that having this character with a fake accent could actually play into it. Now, I'm not an expert on English accents, so I'm going to refer to you guys on that. But it sounds like you guys think it sounds kind of bad. So
no. I think it's a good. I think it's a pretty.
It could be worse. It could be worse. It's not Don Cheadle bad.
It's a pretty decent accent.
Don Cheadle's the worst. Then
when you hear Don Cheadle, or you've heard Dick Van Dyke, or you've heard Flaming.
Oh my God!
I'm trying to think. I mean, when he's over good.
Shia LaBeouf did an English accent. I'll tell you who do good. It's the American actresses. They do superb English accents. Gwyneth Paltrow, Renée Zellweger, Angelina Jolie. What's her name? Katie Sackhoff when she was in Arrow. Superb English accents. You know what I mean? And but the men not so a bit here and there, unfortunately. But yeah, nevertheless, accent aside, this show, it reminded me of several things overall. It reminded me of Typhoid Mary from Daredevil season 3.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Total Recall, One Night in the Museum, The Mummy, and the other one. Sorry, obviously The Mummy. I mean that goes without saying, and the other one just escapes my mind, which I'm going to quickly find right for. But I jotted this shit down. Let me have a quick look ski here.
It reminds me of The Mummy
and Venom. Sorry, and Venom. But that was the other one, because he has somebody obviously talking to him as well, and you know who that person was?
Oh, it's Concha.
No, that was the actor F. Murray Abrahams.
No.
And honestly, I thought F. Murray Abrahams was dead. Yeah. So when I found out he was doing the voice, the guy who killed Mozart himself, you know what I mean? As what's his face said in Last Action Hero. When I found out that was him doing the voice of that Egyptian deity, so to speak, I was kind of shocked. I'm really happy he's still with us. So that's the voice.
Do you know what it reminded me of? There is a film out, I don't know if you saw it, Sam, called Upgrade. That came out. It must be about.
No, I want to see that. I really want to see that.
It reminded me of that because this guy gets like an AI voice in his head. It kind of reminds me of like the David Lynch aspects to it. The kind of like bizarre of like, is he in a dream? Is he awake? Because dreams, whenever we're in a dream, is a constant thing of David Lynch's, and the fact that he keeps on waking up, he keeps on going back to sleep, and we don't know where he is and stuff like that. And I like the fact that we don't know if he's awake or he's dreaming, and that's constant thing in it. It's very Lynchian, especially like when he's looking to the mirror and the guy's talking to him. It's very not Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks, where Bob's talking to Carl McLaughlin and he's like going, you want to do this and stuff like that. It reminds me of that. As I said, but yeah, I've got to say that this first episode was absolutely amazing. For a start, like it starts off with Engelbert singing, playing "A Man Without Love," which is great.
No, cousin Shooter said he loved Bat Mummy. This is the thing. I purposely didn't mention Batman because that was too much into the obvious. But because I feel there's more to this. Obviously, there are elements that you think to yourself, yeah, that's very Batmanish. With him, this sort of cloaked figure and stuff like that. But he's very supernatural as well. I mean, he might not even be real. But let's start breaking down some of this episode. So we see him at the beginning of the episode, waking up.
Why don't we talk about what the first scene where we see?
Oh, the glass.
Where we see Ethan Hawke break the glass and then empty it into the shoes and put his feet in the shoes. That made me go, ooh.
Why would I know it probably wasn't real,
but you can actually hear the glass on the floor, stuff like that.
It is better than only one episode in. Well, because Batman's very familiar, this isn't. So the refreshing nature of it and the fact that it doesn't feel like a carbon copy of Batman, regardless of a little snippet here and there, makes it very interesting to watch. But why would you think he would put glass in his shoes, Jake?
So I mean, I think there's the obvious allegory to he's talking about how everyone's going to be balanced, and so they need to make up for that. So obviously he's a bad guy. He's doing a lot of bad things. So I think this is about punishing himself so that he stays balanced. So every walk is a painful step. Balance so that he can be the Avatar. I think that's definitely part of it. And that would tie into why he carries the cane too, more so than just the balancing act he does with it. So I think this is mostly about that atonement for the bad things he's doing to make up for that. Because one of the things that I find interesting is that the scales tip one way or the other and it's bad, but if they're balanced is when it was green. And so that lady said she never done anything bad. Well, maybe that's the problem. She never did anything bad, so she wasn't balanced. It's to see some of that kind of go into it.
Did you notice that? Sorry, go on.
Please, also, it could be a whole thing about atonement and stuff like that. Like, there's certain religious practices where causing yourself pain is part of the purification ritual. Like for example, Opus Dei, if you've ever read Dan Brown's book, are very into castigation and stuff like that, like whipping themselves. It could be the sense of it's trying to offset the bad things he's done is by causing himself pain. They're giving balance to his own life, showing that he's a humble person. Because the thing is, throughout this, even Hawk does not raise his voice that much. He's not go get him. He's just very soft spoken. He's very direct and stuff like that. And actually, it's quite creepy because, and I'm actually going to say this, and maybe you guys don't agree. I think Ethan Hawke as this character is the best villain since David Tennant as the Purple Man.
Yeah. It's hard for me to judge, but I'm very happy that we've got our villain. They've already met the villain and our hero, so to speak, have already met. The only thing which is still a mystery is Moon Knight himself. But we like the story's kind of been set very early on, which I kind of like. There's two things Daniel Vance has said here. Easy way to do blood spells without people seeing the sacrifice. Very well said. And the blood is a component of the scale spells. Now, regarding those scales, I noticed that the scales itself had heads of gators, and the two prominent things of this episode were alligators or crocodiles, whatever they may be, and reflections. Watching it a second time, I noticed the amount of reflections and shit like that, which was pretty cool. And obviously, I think that's a way of basically explaining that there is more than one person in this body. And so far, we've got just Mark and Steven. But if they try to stay true to the comics, we might see a little bit more out of that. I do feel Steven is. I agree with you, by the way, Reverend. I believe that Mark is the original host of the body, and obviously Steven is this other person. But when you are sharing a body, it's going to be interesting to see what happens after that, because Steven, it's going to be interesting to see what Steven wants to do with his life, because he's probably a concept that's only been created very recently.
I don't know, because the thing is that because when he wakes up, we see the fact that he's changed himself to his bed, with the shackle and stuff. So it's obvious that he it's considered that he sleepwalks and stuff like that. So obviously there's been
no doubt. But I also believe that he's still doing that, but because Mark is no idiot and he's aware of what Stephen is doing, that he just covers his tracks, regardless of being chained to the bed and putting stickers on the door and stuff like that. Mark is just is just one step ahead, and this also explains why Stephen is also absolutely exhausted. Where like you saw him sleeping on the bus when he's going to work, sleeping on that guy's bag when he's going to work and stuff like that. I'm happy they kept the geography kind of right, because he works at the British Museum, and that is very close to Tottenham Court Road Station. So thank fucking God they got the geography right. Because I've seen some films where they set him in London, and I'm thinking to myself, well, they were just over here, and they happened to run over there within 1 minute, which is about 5 miles apart. So yeah, being a London cab driver, those sort of things fucking irk me. Let me just quickly say here, Daniel Vaughn says, Stephen is in control of the DID persona to keep them all safe with his awkwardness. People don't see a threat. Yeah, for sure. It's like it's the Bruce Wayne thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, you know what I mean? This playboy will never be fucking Batman, so that's why he's basically done an alternative version.
Yeah, because apparently in the comics he's very playboy like Bruce Wayne, so apparently that's one thing they changed to, is that making him basically a gift shop runner for the London. Is it London Met, or is it just London normal? I think it's London.
No, that's that's the British Museum.
Yeah,
I drive past it quite often. It's on Great Russell Street, very close to Tottenham Court Road.
I don't know the names of the exact museums, but they're showing a different museum on the inside than they're showing on the outside. And the reason for that, and I'll have to thank New Rockstars for this little tidbit, that the inside of that museum is actually being used as the inside set for Doctor Strange. So they didn't want too many similarities. So actually different museums there. So that'll kind of add to the confusion as well. And I think that just ties in with the fact that it kind of makes it a fake world. Reminds us that it's not the actual real world.
yeah, for sure. I'm very happy actually that they did something like that, because even though I've been to those museums, I haven't been to them in decades. The natural, I think they were in the Natural History Museum it's hard to explain but they were in the Natural History Museum, but they were outside the British Museum, and they were merging that shit together. Or I think it may be the Victoria and Albert Museum, because the Victoria and Albert has all that Aztec shit and all that Egyptian pharaoh shit inside it as well. So anyway, it makes me want to go back to those fucking museums, and they're free as well, so I should fucking go back regardless. We have that moment where he's with that lovely lady. He seems to have chatted up, is willing to go on a date with him, and before we fucking know it, he's in Germany. I thought he was in Switzerland at first, but I found out he was in Germany, and his fucking jaw is fucking broken. I love the special effects for that, by the way. Absolutely beautiful. And then we have some nice little shootouts and stuff like that. We get to meet Ethan Hawke, who's very much like a cult leader. And I guess that's a common thing. He's very different to his persona in the comics. The same character, Richard Harrow, I believe, is it called? Stephen Harrow? What the fuck's his name?
Stephen Harrow. Or no, is it Richard now?
Arthur Harrow. Arthur Harrow.
Yeah,
so Richard Harrow is from fucking Boardwalk Empire. Arthur Harrow is like some sort of crazy scientist, but they've turned him into a cult leader here. And what I like, and I'm very happy about this, is the fact that people are not complaining about some of the changes in Moon Knight compared to the comics, because not many people know about Moon Knight. But these same people are having an issue with Kamala Khan's character in Ms. Marvel, because her power seems to be a bit different. Yes, she's a bit more recognizable than Moon Knight, but no one so far seems to be having an issue at all with Moon Knight. And,
I don't think they changed that much with Moon Knight. The side personality not being rich is kind of a change, but like Arthur Harrow is such a small character that I don't think anyone makes that concern. But I don't think they actually have changed Miss Marvel's powers. I think, and this is side theory here, there's a bit where they show a device that she gets, and it makes it look like that device is what's giving her her powers. I think
like a bracelet.
Yeah, I think that is that is something on top of her powers. If you do look and you get a good close up of the shots, she is elongating, she is embiggening, as her catchphrase would be.
Yeah. I've seen
And
that
the
too.
crystal is around that embiggening.
It's just a bit different, and plus they can't go down the Inhuman storyline because she's a bit like a mutant, so to speak. To a degree, she kind of she like breathes in some gas. That's the original way, but they can't go down that route. But they're not. They've dropped the Inhuman storyline like a fucking bad habit. So yeah. Sorry,
I do. I want to see him do it, and I have hope that they're going to still make her an Inhuman and just multiverse that shit and be like, oh yeah, that other stupid Inhuman shit that no one likes, that's multiverse. Who cares? This is how we're doing it in the official MCU, and it's badass.
I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that because you've got, I mean, now Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is officially the first movie in the MCU, and he gets his web shooters out of his body while the other two guys use capsules. So there are differences, you know what I mean. So I'm totally fine with that. If there is a Kamala Khan from an alternative universe, I'm totally fine that she's an Inhuman and stuff like that. But this is our Kamala Khan for this one. But anyway, that's about Kamala Khan. Let's stick with this. Did you guys enjoy some of the action scenes? Are you looking forward to seeing maybe like an episode from the perspective of Mark, where everything that will happen every time Stephen blacked out, those bits we didn't see, we see it from Mark's perspective. But that's what I fucking want next.
Yeah, because I mean, sorry, I'll let the referee go first because he's our guest.
Yes. Hello, Bandit.
I think that I'd love to see it. It'd be very much kind of like the episode in Lost where you see everything from the tail section people's point of view, or you get an episode from the other's point of view. I think it really fills in the gaps and can provide a unique perspective. And I do think it's coming because if you remember the trailers, there's that bit where he's falling out of a window. So I think what happens is that's what we see there is him falling out, and then he's going to land, and Khonshu is going to basically revive him because Khonshu has revived him in the comics. I mean, that's essentially his origin story. Is he was dead. Khonshu's all like, nope, I'm going to revive you, and now you're my embodiment of revenge. And that's kind of his origin story. So he dies a lot in the comics, from my understanding. So I'm thinking he falls out the window, dies. And we'll see that from Mark's perspective. And then we understand now that, okay, Stephen woke up after Khonshu revived him, and that's why Khonshu's all upset. I think that really plays into that.
Do you know what this scarab is all about?
I don't. And that's what I'm excited for. I love that they're picking up the villain, and so there's some new stuff coming.
Definitely the MacGuffin, I think. Bossman?
But I mean, I love the fact that, like, when he wakes up, he has to realign his jaw, and he's like, oh, and he has to, and he looks at the castle, and he gets those guys shoot at him, and he only hears this, oh God, the idiot's awake, and it's like, what? He's literally like, he walks into like that town full of, like, people, and he sees like Ethan Hawke judging those two people, and he's just like, he goes, this is a good man, and he holds him close, and then he goes, I've been good all my life, says, I'm sure you have, and all you see is this woman just go, and it's like, oh my God.
Which is why I think it's the opposite. I think he's looking for like thugs and people like that to basically fight for him and run around being mercenaries, while someone like this lady, who is a good person, he's willing to take down. Now, I know he said that it could be something to happen ahead in time, which is why he, which is what his excuse to kill her, because it might, her being a bad person might not have happened yet, but it might happen in the future. But in my opinion, is that the people who are bad, he says are good. People who are good, he says are bad, and that's kind of how he operates as a villain, in my opinion, and stuff like that. But we'll see how all that pans out.
The bad thing that she was going to do in the future would be to oppose Ahmet. That was her bad thing. This person's going to oppose me, so let's get rid of him.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That is a possibility. I mean, at this particular moment, there's a whole host of possibilities. But I know we're jumping all over the place here. I mean, I just want to go to a part where they're at the museum, and Arthur is talking to Stephen, and he's mentioned how like this particular, sorry, the name of the prophet that he's following. He transcends time, and if they were around, they would have stopped. They would have stopped Hitler from coming into power, and they know the past, they know the future, yada yada. And I just feel there's a lot of this shit. We've got the time fucking variance authority. We're in upcoming Doctor Strange 2. We're going to be getting that other group with Professor X and shit like that. Now we got this. There seems to be all these fucking entities that can see the past, that can see the present, and stuff like that. You don't even know which one seems to be the more dominant one of the lot. I mean, obviously the TVA seems to be quite dominant because they use fucking Infinity Stones as paperweights, but it's absolutely mind-boggling how all of this shit can work in this world. I mean, they would have theoretically, this particular deity could have stopped Hydra. Anyway, I have to believe all this is going to tie into Blade and Black Knight in some way, being their all dark universe. Yeah, it feels very complicated now, Daniel Vance. Like there is a lot to bundle in a short space of time. And regarding Blade, like, I'm concerned, just to go on this tangent here, I'm concerned with Blade because there's been not even a sniff of fucking vampires in our universe. So I'm hoping that they come from another universe, in my opinion. That would be ideal.
I don't think so. I think that they're just peeling the layers of the onion. Showing you what you didn't see. There's nothing to support that they don't exist in the world, and so they can use that and play off it to just toss them in there. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Engel.
No, that's fine. Bossman?
I was going to say, like, I think that it's just that they're introducing sort of like the more supernaturally stuff now because they can do it with this sort of stuff. Like, I mean, we've just been showed up that this guy who is a bit of a milquetoast, kind of is unsure of himself, is a bit alphaed by his boss, who's this like hot blonde that he's like his boss and stuff like that.
I wouldn't call her a hot blonde, by the way. I think she's a fucking I think more of a battle axe.
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't call her hot. No.
Well, she's definitely a battle axe. Hot was the girl he fucking stood up. That was hot,
We shouldn't brag on Bossman. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I guess. You like him? You like him like that, huh, Bossman?
No. It's like I like people with a personality. But the thing is that the
sorry, that's the sort of personality I'd run away from, man. I mean, she's the sort of person. If that person was real, you would see her in Karen videos. You know what I mean? So,
conversation for another stream.
Stream. She is a bit of a look. She's a bit of a battle axe, bit of a bossy boss, so to speak. She's middle management, so she hasn't got much to do anyway. But he did put her in a place a little bit when Arthur Harrow came visiting. I don't know if that was a bit of Mark Spector spilling out.
Yeah, he tells her to kind of bother off, but yeah, I don't know. My immediate conversation I was talking to my girlfriend was when I'm like, yeah, she's a cunt.
Yeah.
Wow, just unbelievable. I think she might be a better villain than Arthur Harrow.
Arthur Harrow, yeah, for sure. I mean, she's definitely. I bet she gets saved by Moon Knight at one particular point as well. Now, this episode was named after the goldfish. There's a problem with the goldfish problem is the name of this episode. I had no idea that his fucking goldfish had one fin originally, and now it has two fins. I wonder why Mark. Sorry?
He makes a big deal out of it in the beginning phone call when he's feeding it at the very beginning of the episode.
Oh, sorry, I must have missed that. But something must have happened to that goldfish. I think rest in peace, the original goldfish. But it was replaced We find out that Mark did go to that pet shop, and and all of that after his stint in Germany was over, and he comes back. How he came back, I have no fucking idea, but he did come back. He goes to that bloody pet shop. The woman remembers him obviously as Mark. He has no idea what the hell's going on. He thinks he has a date, but he's obviously 2 days gone. And I was watching this one particular review saying that there's nothing worse. Like the most tragic thing ever is that this guy had to miss his weekend. Yeah, so because before he knows it, it's fucking Sunday. And this is the bit I found a bit weird. He's a vegan, and obviously Mark isn't. But he ends up ordering a steak, which was a bit unusual, even for somebody who got stood up. I'm surprised, it hurt him that badly that he's willing to give up his principles of being a vegan and fucking eating a steak. Very unusual, as far as I was concerned. I'm not sure how you guys found that, boss man.
I mean, there is talk about, like, if you listen to some talks about psychologists about how certain split personalities could actually, one could be a meter and not be, one can't be, and one actually there is actually studies done on this, that there's actually, in very extreme cases, I mean, just in all cases, that one person could be alcohol intolerant and the other person could be a mass boozer, and depending on the personality, it was
fascinating.
Like, like that there's stuff like that. So there's actually like some history to this, and I like the fact that you can't remember asking this girl out. And I was just like, that's really, really interesting. Like, and I don't mean that in a what's the word, in a negative sort of way, but I mean that in a that's very, very interesting sort of way.
Daniel Vance said, away ordering a well done steak for their customer is just wrong. I get it was on a play on Steven's brain being well done. Well, I'll tell you what, Daniel Vance, if he orders that well done steak, he'll go great. He'll go back to being a fucking vegan in no time. Did you find that scene a bit weird, a vegan ordering a steak because he got stood up, or he stood up a girl or whatever? Reverend?
Kind of perfect, and real quick, with Daniel Vance was saying there that I think it also was, he's saying very good, very good. So that almost kind of in a way could be very well done. And I think the way
I was thinking that
taking that for that, like, whatever gets you out of my hair. I also think that when he told him that the kitchen was closing soon, that was also like, hey, we want you out of our chair, out of this chair, and out of our restaurant. And I think that kind of had part to do with it. But I did think it was a good showing of how he's just letting go. And I think a lot of this theme of this episode is about letting go. So we talk about being called the goldfish problem. Well, what is the goldfish problem? There's kind of a twofold. One-fold, goldfish don't have any memories, we all know. And Mark's definitely suffering from memory loss about what happened. Steven's suffering from memory loss about what happened when Mark's around. Second, the goldfish somehow dies while they're in Germany. And so that kind of creates that problem. So, I lost my train of thought there. But so there's kind of twofold. So it's showing about how he's dealing with letting go. So he's got to let go of the fact that that's not really his goldfish. He's got to let go of the fact that there's another personality in him that can apparently is doing some stuff he's not happy with and is scared of. Especially with the thing like the jackal. And so I think part of that is to him letting go of control and accepting the fact that Mark lives in his body. Mark was going to eat the steak anyways. So what's it make a difference if he eats the steak or if Mark eats the steak? And I think
but he hasn't really know about that yet to a degree at that particular moment. Well, I mean, he's unaware.
I think he suspects because he's by that point he's had the conversation. Or no, that's not when he has not yet had the conversation with Mark. I'm sorry, I'm getting the order of events wrong here.
Yeah,
but I still kind of think that is part of it. Like he realizes that somebody else is probably living in his body. As far as having the dissociative identity disorder. I think he's kind of catching on to that. I mean, things with the lock means he's already knows that something really on. He gets the phone call, Mark, why did you call me Mark? That has happened by that point, I believe. And so he's kind of like, forget it. I give up. Somebody else is already eating steak in my name, so I might as well just eat the steak.
I think there's also like some like plenty of things in there, like, you know, why does he not want to fall asleep? Because the thing is that because lack of sleep can sometimes lead you to imagine stuff. Because I think there's someone who says that like the more sleep you don't have, the more disorientated your thought processes are. Because I think someone said like if you don't have, I think it's like 8 hours sleep. If you wait for about, I think it's like something like 14 hours, your brain is kind of on a track if you're hovering around the drink drive limit. So that's about 2 units. I'm not sure what it is in the US. I think it is. Does it fluctuate state to state, or is it the same for all the states?
Wait, for what? I'm sorry.
Drink driving. The drink drive
Oh,
limit.
but that's drinking and driving is 21 across the U.S.
Okay. But I think for 24, that's like, I think that's equivalent if you drink a bottle of scotch.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, the limit of how much blood alcohol, your blood alcohol content.
Yeah.
That's different everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not sleeping, your brain processes, if you've not slept for 24 hours, is akin to not drinking a bottle of scotch, basically. So basically, you'll be absolutely hammered and you're not going to think of anything. Whereas I would get that point where you're trying to keep yourself awake by doing the puzzles, like doing the Sudoku or doing reading the Iliad and stuff like that. So,
and that's stuff that they really lean into in the comics, and I'm hoping that they'll play into that for at least one episode. Is this all just a bad dream? Is he hallucinating all of this? It's a big question that they bring up in the comics a lot. Is dude just insane, or does he really have mystical powers?
Well, it's just a couple of things. Obviously, like the girl, for instance, like he did stand her up and he did chat her up. So there is something there regarding that, if you know what I mean. And obviously the Pet Shop people as well, I think, obviously knew that he was somebody else as well, or thought he was the same person whilst he was somebody else at that particular time. I want to talk very briefly about that mime painted in gold. He was talking to this dude, and I genuinely feel there's more to him than meets the eye. I know he's a bit of Stephen comes across as a bit of a loner and all of that, but I think there's a subconscious side to certain things he does, and this particular mime is willing to listen to him. I think it might be some sort of informant for Mark, along those particular lines. And him being a mime, him being a street performer, I do feel, Fight Club as well, by the way, yeah, definitely. I do feel that hiding in plain sight like that benefits somebody like that golden mime, and I do feel we're going to get something out of that. What did you think of that mime interaction, Reverend?
Honestly, I didn't read too far into it. I don't know. I kind of saw it as him having a friend, which is important. But at the same time, I thought it was interesting that really it's not his friend, and he's still tipping the mime himself. And I think that really it's just kind of how he's getting his therapy. But yeah, I guess I didn't see too much into that scene. It was a good insight into what's going on with Steven's mindset. But yeah, past that, I don't see a lot coming from it. That would be cool if something did come from it.
Boss man?
I don't really know. I don't really have any opinion, sorry.
On the mime?
Yeah, I not really, because I was looking at other stuff like. What I was loving is the fact that he gets to see things out of the corner of his eyes. Like, and he's like, "Is that real? Is that imagined?" Like when he's going past on the bus, and you see that guy standing in the middle of. You know London better than I do. That. Where
it looked at one point I thought he might have been in Brixton, but I couldn't see Brixton Station. But nevertheless, it was hard to tell. Honestly, even a little street like that with that much, looking at that much, it's very hard to figure out. I need a bit more, you know. But
what was interesting is you mentioned reflections. I think it's worth calling out that beautiful shot as he walks away, where the camera's upside down and the top of the screen, which you would expect to be the real. Is actually the reflection in the puddle. I thought that was a really gorgeous shot.
And this is like one of the things I love about like filmmaking is that there's so much subliminal in there that you don't realize until sometimes it gets broken down, or you watch it a second time to really get a gist of it, or you watch maybe a particular YouTube video where they analyze the fuck out of it and they break it down to you. And yeah, the reflections in that was pretty good. We get back to Mark's place now, and he's eating those chocolates after he's been after his failed date, and he finds some scratchings on the floor after he dropped some of his chocolates, and he realizes that this table he uses gets moved and uses a stepping stool, so to speak, to reach a part of his ceiling where a phone is being hidden, and he opens up that phone, and there's a lot of missed calls from a person called is it Lydia?
Layla.
Layla. Sorry, I apologize, Layla. But there's also one person in that missed calls list which they want you to know about. A person called Gaspard, and I think Gaspard is going to be played by that French actor who unfortunately died not too long ago.
Yeah. The one who died in the mountain. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yes. Well, I actually apologize. I'm getting it all mixed up. Was his name Gaspard on the phone?
No, it was somebody else. It was Dupont or Duchamp or Ducamp.
Duchamp. Yeah. So I'm so sorry. I'm getting my names. I'm getting my names mixed up. But this particular person, apparently, what I've heard, he's a bit like the Alfred of Moon Knight. You know, if Moon Knight is Batman, then this guy's Alfred, and he kind of makes a lot of his tech and stuff like that. And he's like his guy in the chair, so to speak.
Yeah,
got one missed call from that, but this Layla girl seems to be someone who's extremely fond of Mark and has been calling him for months. And yes, he gets the phone, speaks to this person. This person doesn't realize who this person is, and then she hangs up on him and stuff like that. More mystery ahead, I guess. What do you think all that shit's about?
Well, he says, what's that accent about and stuff like that. So, I love the fact that it's like is that a burner? It probably is a burner, isn't it? Like that he gets the burner phone and stuff like that. He's like saying, like, you know, I've been trying to reach you for months. He's like, I kind of puts your mind in test, like, who is a real person? Is Stephen a manifestation of Mark, or is Mark a massive manifestation of Stephen's, like, in a protection?
Stephen's the manifestation. He's Douglas Quaid from fucking Total Recall. You know what I mean? You know, that's who he is.
I don't think it's as black and white as you think it is. I think there is questions of that, like, who is the real personality? And who is
it goes way back in the phone calls. I've been trying to call him for months. You know, he speaks to his mum on the phone, who doesn't exist because all he's doing is leaving voicemail messages.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't actually speak to his mum. You know, he just leaves messages. His mum's never around. You know, and he's laters and all that sort of shit.
Well, yeah, after the date when he's throwing the roses away, that one actually he pauses a couple of times, like he's waiting for someone, and he's like, "Yeah," and he keeps saying, "Yeah," like he's responding. And I think that's a fake out, though. I think you're right, Sam, that he's just leaving.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like, I just feel that there is a history, or when you look at Mark and stuff like that, and some of the stuff that's happened already, and, like, you know, with that phone and all of that, we don't even know how long Stephen's been around for. You know, it just doesn't seem. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to be the real deal. You know, like I said, he does feel like Douglas Quaid. But I'm, you know, if I'm wrong, I'll hold my hands up. But at this particular moment in time, I do feel Mark is the original, and Stephen is his decoy, his character to basically stray away anyone from following him or knowing him.
Yeah, to play devil advocate on that, though, I would call out that he is getting postcards from his mom, so he does actually see. Yeah,
but those postcards are from his shop. Have you noticed? They're the same. this is somebody pointed out that the postcards coming from his museum, so they're not like they're probably Mark sending it to him, to Stephen, to keep his feet on the ground, so to speak.
I didn't realize they were from his museum specifically. I did realize that one of them was Egyptian themed, and my thought was that Mark is sending them on from his adventures. So like when Mark goes to places like Germany, he sends a postcard back, and it is, as you mentioned, I think it's to continue the ruse. But I think that Marvel's going to try to keep that one close to the chest for at least another 2 episodes before they reveal who the main personality is. And they could change it up to make Steven the main personality, just to throw a curveball at us too. Marvel loves doing that stuff where they change something just to throw the curveball at us.
I do think we're going to see. Don't get me wrong. I still think Mark is the main guy, but I think we'll see maybe more things from Steven's perspective, if you know what I mean. That's how I feel. I mean, right now at this particular moment in time, I have no idea what anything's about. We just know that the Scarab is being hunted by Arthur Harrow and his contingent, and for some particular reason, maybe to awake a particular god. It could be the battle of the deities, because he's playing for one particular deity, and it seems that Moon Knight is representing another. These creatures of the night, so to speak, or these sort of mummified creatures that are coming after him, one with long beaks and God knows what else. I'm sure they will come into play a little bit more, and we'll understand them a little bit more. There was a moment, obviously, in the lift where he thinks he's being chased by one of them, and then that old lady comes in instead, and she's like fucking freaked out by this dude who she probably thinks is some sort of fucking crackhead, having cold shakes on the floor. So I did find that a little bit funny. But just to go to the end of this particular episode now, after being confronted by Arthur Harrow and he runs away, he still remains in the fucking shop. I know he has to do the night shift, but he continued working like nothing had happened. Like these motherfuckers who tried to kill you are still after you, working in the gift shops and make you hide from them. It's not the fucking case,
Yeah, but I think he thinks that Arthur is a manifestation of his subconscious, or his id, or whatever, or is a manifestation of his fear. He doesn't realize that it's real because he's like, oh, it's just a manifestation of my dream come to life, sort of thing.
Well, he thought that initially when they were in Germany, but once he saw him on the bus, when he was back in London, he kind of realized, and he spoke to him in the museum near the end of the episode as well. Yeah. He mentioned he was in chaos and stuff like that. It's hard to even say. Watching it the second time, like when that creature came after him, like I noticed the creature was very cautious not to knock anything over in the museum until he went into the back. And then things started fucking up there, which is fair enough. Things can fuck up there because it's not the main part of the museum. Maybe Stephen did that himself. But then when he goes into the toilets, sorry, Reverend, and he hides and he starts seeing his reflection. It's funny, like one mirror, you can see that infinitive mirror look. But when he sees himself in the other mirror, you don't get that infinitive mirror scene. Anyway, what do you want to say, Rev?
I was going to throw back that hallway scene from the elevator. That's actually Khonshu. That's not one of the demons chasing him. That's actually him seeing Khonshu. So anytime you see that bird skull, that's Khonshu, who's the one empowering Mark that we're seeing there.
Oh, so they're not on the same team as the other dude.
No. So then
the Jack wants you to think like, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit of, sorry if I'm spoiling stuff for you.
No, that's a good bait and switch. I'm glad I know these things actually.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of thing is Mark doesn't Steven doesn't know this, so that's kind of the ploy there. But how I was going to say there, there's an interesting thing where they mentioned when Harlow's talking to Steven in the museum, he mentions actually that all of the other Egyptian deities turned on Ammit with God. So it sounds like they all locked Ammit away, and this is about trying to free Ammit. And I think him running into Khonshu is just kind of a random thing, or the avatar of Khonshu. I think is kind of a bad thing. That's where I want to see how that does play out, though. I think it's more about just getting this ancient devourer open and free.
So the creature that was chasing him was different to the creature we saw on the streets, and the creature that was on the lift.
Yeah, because if the one on the lift has a big bird skull, and the one that's chasing him in the museum is a jackal that Harlow summoned somehow. Which Daniel in the chat here points out that the jackal is traditionally a pet of Anubis, a different god. So I don't know why they're using it here with a follower of Ammit. I don't know if it's universal where Ammit has them too, or if they're just mixing and matching their Egyptian mythology here.
One of the things that kind of bugged me was the fact that Mark was telling Stephen, "Look, you got to let me take control." But there were many times when Mark took control, without asking Stephen to take control, to give him relinquish control. So I was kind of surprised that he needed his permission. But nevertheless, he finally takes control. We see the straps go around him. And at one moment, this creature is trying to attack Stephen. But because now Stephen is Moon Knight, you see the fucking creature trying to escape. And Moon Knight beats the shit out of him. Now, I do feel that Moon Knight in that shot was entirely CGI, watching it a second time. It was hard to tell initially, maybe just a cape or something. But I think the whole of Moon Knight was entirely CGI. But I did feel that this episode would leave us on we have Moon Knight cliffhanger. But I want this episode to continue straight away from this particular point. I want to see a bit of Moon Knight action now in the second episode with him maybe going around town, jumping on rooftops and shit like that, fucking a few people over. I am vengeance and all of that bollocks. So, that's where I want this episode to continue. That's where I want this scene to continue from next week. Bossman?
I kind of agree with you. I kind of want the opposite of like this, where we see everything from Steve's perspective, where we see what's been happening when he's asleep. We see him waking up and and we figure out how he's getting out of the shackles. Like maybe he knows where the key is, or he just gets up and maybe he has like a secret thing that he does for it, and then we see him get up and do some things. He asks see him asking that girl out, so we can see the context for that. We can see
in the pet shop.
Yeah, we can see him in the pet shop. Yeah. We can also see him traveling to Germany, how he found out about the scarab, because again we don't know how he found out about the scarab and about Arthur Harrow. Is it something that he's been reading about for a while? Is it something that somebody who is one of his contacts knows about? Is it something that another one of his personalities? Because the thing is, we've only met two. There could be a third one, or a fourth one, or a fifth one, or a sixth one. So and how in touch with them is he? So
do you think Disney will show off if we do get a Mark side of things? You think Disney will let us see him, John Wicking those motherfuckers, and
considering it's an 18, bloody well should.
I mean, this episode felt nothing like an 18. This episode could have been PG, quite easily, in my opinion. Having a bit of blood on your hands and not showing any massacres or sort. We never saw him plug anybody. 1 minute they're alive, then they're dead. That's it. We never saw the actual killings. And then when he finally does beat somebody up, it's some CGI monster. It's just Disney's. Like I said, this is Disney's idea of what an 18 should be. Because it's fucking Disney in the day, and they need to keep that milquetoast sort of mindset or image, so to speak, even though they're far from milquetoast as a corporation. But how did you find that ending, by the way, Reverend?
Yeah, I really liked how they ended it there. I think also, as far as we're talking about leading into the next episodes, I think we are going to immediately get the Mark scene. I think during WandaVision, there was some pushback from the fan base about how long it took for them to actually get outside of the bubble and try to explain anything of what the bubble was or what's going on with the larger story. I think it was episode 4 by the time they finally put that out and kind of let people know what's going on. And there was a bunch of pushback, I remember, from that. I think they're going to learn a lesson from that, and we're going to get some immediate answers next episode, especially with this only.
I like a slow burn, though, Reverend. I don't know about yourself, mate, But I don't mind all of that. I don't mind a bit of a slow burn, just to give us a feel like they want us to jump from one scenario straight into another, without any build. They had 9 episodes, or they were supposed to have 10 episodes, but COVID put a stop to that. But it kind of upsets me that the impatience of fans that they want to just jump straight to it, and I had no problem with the villain being revealed very early on. I had no problems with that at all. But some things, it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, I don't know.
Some shows like are better slow burn, and some are worse with it. And I don't think that keeping the Mark side of thing for us and not expanding on the story is going to do them any good. I think they can still slow burn it, but show us a different angle.
Like I think that what I'm also hoping is that we get more info on like Arthur Harrow, like his backstory a little bit, like how he came to be involved with Aphrodite. Was it Aphrodite or was it? I can't remember. Aphrodite or whatever it's called. Was he chosen?
Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm taking the piss. But yeah, we only got 6 episodes though. We don't have the luxury of, like, after WandaVision, the Disney shows have been all fucking 6 episodes pretty much. Falcon Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Loki. What If wasn't, but this show is, all 6 episodes. So they're gonna have to ram pack everything pretty quickly, because before you know it, it's gonna be fucking over. So, but at least it'll be a fast-paced show, I guess. So that's a good thing with 6 episodes. Like, they do have to move shit along. So I guess in that, but yeah. So, anyways, so what do you expect from next week? I already said that I would like this episode to continue from where this episode left off. But what about you, Reverend? What do you want from next week?
Yeah, so I really want to see Mark's side of the story. I want to see that and really kind of understand the fullness of what's going on here with the pieces that we missed. The heist or whatever, where the exchange where he gets the scarab, I think that would be a really cool scene to open on. You can open right away on some action and then kind of finish the episode where we ended episode 1 with him walking out and kind of a fuller explanation of who Moon Knight is and why he is as he walks out of the bathroom there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's gonna be. I would agree with you. By the way, I would like to see things from Mark's perspective as well, and understand a little bit of who Moon Knight is. Bossman?
I agree. Maybe we can find out if there's even more personalities that that Mark knows about. Because the thing is, we've always seen things from Mark's point of view, just even in tune with the rest of the personality. What's his relationship like with what's his name? Kunad? I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, the Egyptian god.
Yeah. We can see, like, is his person, because the thing is like, you can tell that he doesn't think much of Mark. He's like, oh, the idiot's awake. It's just like, what's his relationship like with Stephen? Is it better? Is it worse? Is he like that with everybody?
Well, we see him in physical form as well. Will he just be this voice in his head? That'll be interesting as well to see. I also do you think we'll get any big time Marvel characters? Because sometimes these shows, I do feel that they aren't, like, I felt like Stephen Strange should have been in WandaVision, in my opinion. In some capacity, he wasn't. And people were banking on that. I fucking banked on that. I was willing to put both my fucking bollocks on that. That he was definitely going to be in WandaVision. That wasn't the case. Whilst Kang did actually show up in Loki when people were being kind of skeptical if he was going to show up or not as the Ancient One. So it's going to be interesting to see where things pan out. But I would like to see maybe Doctor Strange or maybe Wang or something like along those lines. Like a significant character within the MCU be in this, so it feels like it's the MCU. Because Eternals doesn't feel like the fucking MCU. It feels fucking totally different, regardless of the name drops. Doesn't feel MCU in the fucking slightest. So I would like a reminder that we are connected in this massive universe in some capacity. So
I think our connection.
I mean, any heroes based in London? Sorry,
I'm trying to think what in the Marvel universe.
Well, look, we have like those homes that you got one, you know, Doctor Strange home. You got one in New York, you got one in London, you got one in Hong Kong. Well, they can visit the London Sanctorius, what the fuck it's called. I'm going all Harry Potter here, but you know what I mean. They can visit the London version, and maybe we can see Wang or Doctor Strange or somebody along those particular lines. Doctor Strange, obviously, Benedict Cumberbatch has got his plate full when it comes to cameos and God knows what, but it'll be nice to see some sort of link. Maybe Shang-Chi, I don't know. It's just something. Yeah.
I think if anything, we get either Blade or somebody from the Midnight Suns run. I think is more likely to try to pull him into that, especially if somebody who can make the combination like Blade. We're waiting on seeing Blade's face. We've got his voice in. We do already have Kit Harington confirmed as the Evan Blade. Yeah. That would be another great one. Evan Blade, he's already in London, so you've got the geography right, and you can make that connection there and kind of lead into that and more of those kind of darker Avengers things, which is why I even if this isn't too bad, and I don't think there's any way that any show on Marvel, you know, kind of going back to that conversation, is going to get any worse than any of the Netflix was. You look at the Netflix shows, and they were as adult as anything Marvel's ever going to do. And I think that some of the Midnight Sun stuff can leverage on some of that bloodier nature that they're making this mature for. So that's kind of what I was thinking there.
I wouldn't mind seeing a whole variety of characters. I'm not a big fan of Mahershala Ali playing Blade, by the way. A lot of people were kind of happy about that. Yeah, I want a martial artist playing Blade, like Wesley Snipes was.
No, Mahershala Ali is a very, very good actor. But the thing is that with the best will in the world, he has very, very, very big shoes to fill.
Yeah, all the.
I mean, there's very few superheroes where I can't picture anybody else playing it. Blade's one of those guys. I can only picture one guy, and that's Wesley Snipes.
I would like to see Michael J. White play it. You know, I mean, he's a martial artist, and
but he can't.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are talking superheroes, so we're not talking Shakespeare. So, but you know, and he's playing a very broody character, which is something I think he can do. You know what I mean? You know,
probably
a silent type.
The superhero cartoon wants to play is Green Lantern. He wants to play John Stewart.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah, that's what
he's. I would love that. I would love that.
That's what he's basically been politicking for a while.
Well, no, he wants to play Jax from Mortal Kombat. That's what he wants to do, and Warner Brothers won't.
Well, he's done that already, but he just hasn't done it. He's done that on that web series with Jerry Ryan, who played Sonya Blade.
That series, but he wants.
But personally, Idris Elba should play John Stewart, in my opinion. I think that's a good pick.
Too old.
Well, John Stewart's not a spring chicken, is he? And Michael J. White's not young either, but he just happens to be in good shape.
I don't want him either. I want them to get some new unnamed actor. I'm always happy when they can pull someone brand new into the spotlight. I think Marvel does a fantastic job of getting new actors. You said that that he's good enough to play a superhero, but as far as I'm concerned, all the people they have playing superheroes in the MCU are A-list actors. They can actually act and make you feel real emotions, and they don't take you out of it. You don't feel like it's someone playing a character in a play, but rather it's a real actual character. And I just don't know if Michael J. White can deliver that. But that's a separate conversation, I suppose. We're getting
okay. But him aside, I just want somebody who is a martial artist, and I feel I don't like the idea of some superimposed face, of Mahershala Ali over a stunt man. I don't want to see that. One of the best things about sorry, boss man. One thing the best things about Matrix and John Wick is that we're seeing Keanu Reeves doing all that shit. We saw Lawrence Fishburne do all that shit in the early Matrix movie, and Carrie Ann Moss and stuff like that. They're doing that. Watching somebody.
They weren't martial artists. They learned to do it for the
movie. I agree. They learned. But Mahershala Ali is like he's not a young guy; he's in his mid-40s. You know, for him to start learning how to kick ass, you know, and be a decent martial artist, a credible one. You know, I'm not so sure. I mean, I just feel like we're gonna get what's his faces. We're gonna get like a similar story to the actor who played Iron Fist, who Finn something, the guy from Game of Thrones. And he was a terrible choice. Because he wasn't a martial artist. If he was a martial artist, I'm really sure that Iron Fist would have been a much better show because you would have a guy. Yeah.
That, from my understanding, that show suffers immensely from choreography planning. They didn't have a good choreographer or anything. It was also part of the issue. But you know, because I love following the news and this stuff, and I have for years. One of the things with that is that if you remember, there's a scene where the Iron Fist fights a drunken master style fighter. The guy who played the drunken master wanted to be Iron Fist. Most of the internet was behind him being Iron Fist, and they gave it to the other guy instead.
Yeah, I remember they're fighting on in the slummy area.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
And I think that guy would have played a much better one because he really tough.
Exactly, but anyways, anyway, let's wrap this up now, fellas. We've been on for just over an hour, but yeah, pilot episode of Moon Knight. I wasn't expecting much to come from this episode. I was still expecting to be left in mystery, which is kind of understandable considering we're only in the pilot episode. But it was good, good character development. Oscar Isaac, excuse me, his English accent is acceptable. I don't know what accent, what region it comes from, but it's acceptable, you know, as far as I'm concerned. As an Englishman myself, and same with Bossman, I guess. And yeah, roll on next week. I can't wait. And to anybody who's still left watching us, tomorrow we'll be talking about Star Trek Picard, episode 5. So, are you into Picard, Reverend Jake?
No, I don't really do Star Trek.
Oh man, you don't do Star Trek?
No, I don't. I longest time I didn't do Star Wars either.
Wow.
Then one year, my stepbrother got the special editions on VHS, and they just re-released them with the new effects. And he's like, "No, we're watching this over Christmas. You can either sit there and be bored, or you can watch it with us." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And I got hooked on it. But I'm more into the space wizards. I do high fantasy usually.
Star Wars and space wizards, mate.
Yeah, Moon Knight's right up my alley. I love mythology, so Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology is something I'm already interested in. Then you give me a superhero that brings that and the questionable narrator. I fucking gold. Sorry,
yeah.
F word for the day.
That's fine. You know, we're British. We say the C word. You know, like drunken sailors. Around here. So F word is not a problem. So.
I dropped that one earlier, though. It's funny. It's commonly.
I thought you did.
But I thought you. Yeah, I know that lady, his boss Donna.
Yeah.
Definitely a cunt.
Nice. We have a lot of Americans here in London, you see. So when I get talking to them in my cab, and they tell me how much we swear around here, and we drop the C word, and how taboo it is in America. I'm thinking it's only taboo for now. Well, sooner or later, you guys will be saying it like the F word, so it's not a big deal. But all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you got anything more to say, Reverend, before we wrap these up?
No, nothing related to Moon Knight. I think we've gotten all of that done. I'm excited for the next episode, like I said. Oh, actually, I do have one last thing. Beginning of the episode, he gets into the gift shop. There's the little girl throwing garbage in the pyramid.
Yes.
I think that she is more than meets the eye because she says, "Did it hurt when you got rejected?" And I think that is a ploy to that little girl knowing that Khonshu brought him back to life. Because, again, that's how he gets his powers, is Khonshu brings him back to life. So in that way, he's kind of rejected from the afterlife. And I think that little girl is going to end up being an Easter egg for something crazy that happens later on. I don't know what, but keep an eye on her, rewatch that scene. Something is going on.
Okay, we'll definitely do that. Oh, by the way, the WWE Hall of Fame is this Friday. I'm not sure if you're into wrestling or not, or used to be.
When I was like 10.
Yeah, like I kind of fallen out of it. I used to be a big fan. Bossman is still a reasonable fan. You know, we got a couple of other wrestleheads in our group as well. But we might be watching the Hall of Fame, doing a watch along with that, as well as WrestleMania, which is now, because of COVID, become a 2-night affair. You know, and I think they're going to be sticking to that. 2 nights of wrestling. You know, like WrestleMania is such a fatigue fest, man. You know, I just can't handle it anymore. But we'll see how that.
Twice.
Sorry, yeah, they want to charge people. Yeah, well, it's Vince McMahon for you. Like, all he cares about is like making the money and not giving a good product anymore. You know, it's amazing. He makes more profit now than ever, but the company itself has got less viewership than it's ever had. It's crazy. We had 5 million at one point. Now they're lucky to get 2 million. You know, so it's crazy. But nevertheless, all right. So let's wrap this up. Bossman, you got anything to say before I wrap up?
Just a really good episode, and I think Oscar Isaacs, if he carries on like this, might be in line for an Emmy, probably.
Oscar Isaac, by the way, Oscar Isaac, isn't he just fucking great? Like, you know, Star Wars. It was the best thing about the sequel trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah,
was Oscar Isaac. You know, I find the sequel trilogy to be a big pile of bollocks. All 3 films, shit, and he was in Dune, which was excellent as well. The guy. He played your favorite boss man, Apocalypse. He is Apocalypse, and now he's, you know, the Egyptian angle is there again, you know. But and here he is now playing Moon Knight. Amazing. So, anyways, all right, guys. Everyone else out there, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.